Good morning. Happy Friday, everyone. Hopefully you are all feeling great. It's our kind of our first full week of daylight savings. So I know that also can be an interesting week to say the least, but welcome everyone and good morning. I'm so pumped for today's class, and I'm just so happy that you're all here. So before we dive into today's class, we're talking about attuning to your needs, which is, I think, a very fitting weekly wind down. But it's so good to see everyone. Good morning, Tara and Danica and Dee and Tara and Esther and Carrie. Tara says you're feeling run down too. Danica, yeah, it's I don't know about you what the weather's like, but here in the Bay Area in California, it is rainy, it is gray, it is cold, and it's now still really dark in the morning. So we're going to use today's class as a way to kind of reflect, but also help to pick us up. So hopefully we'll get a little bit more energy as we get through today's class. Yes, Carrie, that's the goal, to give you that lift that you need. So today we're talking about attuning to your needs. And this is something that I've probably shared a little bit in passing in other classes, but I want to actually focus today on that. And hearing that everyone's a little tired and feeling run down, that could be a little bit of an indication of, have we been really attuning and tending to our needs? So my definition of self-care is that it's the intentional practice of tending to your needs. And I find that very often when we are, spending most of our days, we're tending to everyone else's needs and priorities, we tend to put ours on the back burner. And I would even go a step further and to say that sometimes we're so good at attuning to everyone else's needs that we don't even know how to attune to our needs. And the story that I'll share is that I had a client who was a midwife. And she would say, Allison, I am so good at what I do. I can literally hear the cry of a baby. I know exactly the sound that they're making. And based off of the sound that they're making, I know what they need. And she said, I'm so good at it for my baby clients. And even like the moms, I can figure it out too. But when it comes to myself, I think I've just completely shut off my own inner cries. And so I don't even know what my needs are and how to tend to them, let alone be attuned to them. And when she said that, it really hit me, because I thought, how often are we ignoring those kind of inner cries? How often are we ignoring our needs? And how often are we suffering because of that? So that's what we're going to do today. We have 3 journal prompts, and we're going to look at how do we just get better at attuning to our needs. And it leads me to today's quote that I found that I really, really enjoy. And it says, almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including yourself. And sometimes we need to have these moments to just unplug so we can actually start back up. And this unplugging is for us to listen. So we're going to do a little bit of that today. So I'm glad that this is resonating, because I've been very plugged in this week in all ways, right? And chances are most of us, typically that's our standard, is we typically are so plugged in to everything else, but we're not plugged into ourselves. And there's no shame in that, because it's probably coming from a really good place. But let's use today's class, let's use this moment together to kind of unplug, to connect with ourselves and our needs. All right, that's how we're going to rock and roll today. So as we think about the first journal prompt and we think about this week, I want you to take some time and I want you to think about and identify a moment. Maybe there are multiple moments, but I want you to get very, very specific over a moment this week where you sacrificed or you neglected your needs. I want you to think about a moment where, and again, this could be something great. Like my example this week was a heavy week for like all my best friends. Like everyone who's in my like thick close inner circle was going through something. And they really needed their best friend. And so this week I showed up for 3 of my best friends, kind of I went over and over and beyond. One friend, I drove an hour, over an hour to go and see her and spend an hour with her and her baby and her mom before she went to work because she flew in last night for just like a 3 hour meeting. So we had a little bit of time to see each other. Then I drove from that meeting with my college best friend to my other best friend who lives another hour and a half away and had lunch with her and tea with her because she really needed to talk because then I had to drive all the way back to the city for a business dinner. I was exhausted, I was overwhelmed, but I knew that I needed to be there for them. But a lot of my needs got compromised and sacrificed on that day. So, yeah, it was exhausting. So, my needs were really sacrificed. And I didn't get a chance to really tend to them. I didn't really eat a proper lunch or, eat a proper breakfast. I drank more coffee than I probably needed to. I was very caffeinated. I was on the road a lot more than I anticipated. And I wasn't really able just to check in with myself because I was in full service to two people that I love dearly. So take a moment and think about it for yourself. What's a moment, and no judgment, keep it very neutral, but what's a moment where you're like, I really ignored the inner cries. I really ignored my basic needs. It can be your very basic needs as well, or a big need. And just kind of get as specific as possible around that event. Take 3 minutes, and I will see you back there and we'll see what you came up with. identifying the leaks in the boat, right? And I think about it like, you're on a boat and you're trying to get from point A to point B, but when we neglect our needs, what happens is there start to be little holes in the boat. And if that need doesn't get filled, then the boat can start to sink or doesn't move as fast. We have water in the boat, and now we're kind of in reaction mode trying to get the water out the boat. So these are these things of how do I identify the leaks in the boat, right? So Danica shares that, she's grateful that she has a week where her partner is home and get focused on the home office things. But on the opposite side of that coin is that she's behind the computer for 12 hours a day sometime, and it's a lot, and she's fried. And it's just that reminder of like when things get really busy to like take the break, take some days off to help be more productive. I actually had this conversation with my dad this week, who has made the executive decision, which I'm so proud of him, after I think months of me kind of preaching to him. But now he uses Wednesdays. He says, I'm blocking off Wednesdays now to focus on myself. No meetings, no outside engagements. It's all about working on my business and working on myself so I can feel like I can get some breathing room. And I was so proud of him for saying that. And Tara says, I found myself rushing around one morning before work in an effort to meet my own needs because I know the evening was already packed and I felt like others' needs mattered more than what I needed. It left me feeling frustrated and snappy. Isn't that so interesting? Because that's something that we see commonly, right? When we're aware that our needs aren't being met and that we're making everyone else's priorities a bigger priority than our own, we start to get frustrated, resentful. We start to get snappy and irritable, right? Because, we're just kind of feeling the tension. And that's not our intention to feel that way or to behave or respond that way. But that's one of the outcomes of not tending to your needs, especially if it becomes a pattern. This is why it's so important. So, Tara, thank you for sharing that. Yes, Dee, it's such a gift every week to have a day to yourself. And I think we all kind of need that reminder. Because if we don't create the space and the time to tend to our needs, it's probably not going to happen. So you've thought about a moment. And again, sometimes the moments that you put your needs on the back burner come from a good place. And probably it is the right choice, right? Like the sacrifice is worth it. But it still has an impact. And we have to be really mindful of that. And so even if we're doing it out of a good place and it's coming to, as of service to those we love, if we don't check it, it can get really tough and prickly, right? So we're going to do a quick exercise. So Lily says, or life is going to do it for you, and it will. And it'll be incredibly inconvenient. 100%. Life has a very funny way of finding that balance and getting the pendulum to swing back in the other direction if you can't do it. Our bodies love homeostasis. Our bodies love balance. And if we aren't brave enough or strong enough or diligent enough or accountable enough to do it, other factors will come back to find that for us. And usually, Lily, you are 100% right. It is totally and incredibly inconvenient. So let's take a moment to actually attune to our needs. And this is something that we're going to do if you're driving. You don't need to do the extent, but maybe just think about this. But if you are at home or you're comfortable in an office or something where you can just take a moment to close your eyes, then I'm going to invite you to do that. But if you're not in a position to do that, no worries. Just kind of think about the question. But I want you to take a moment and I want you to close your eyes. And if you want to, you can put one hand on your heart. You can put the other hand on your stomach. And with your eyes closed, I want you just to roll your shoulders down your back. And just take a deep inhale in through your nose and a deep exhale out through your mouth. So just take deep inhales in through your nose and try to get your exhale a little bit longer than your inhale. And as you have your hand on your heart, as you're taking your inhales and your exhales, see if you can feel your heartbeat in your hand. And once you feel that heartbeat in your hand, see if you can feel the heartbeat in your hand in your heart, and then in your hand on your stomach. Just see if you can feel that heartbeat, that pulse through your body. And I want you to ask yourself the question, what do I need right now? What do you need right now in this moment? Listen without judgment. See if there's one more thing that you need. Take a big inhale in. What do you need? And as you exhale through the mouth, open your eyes, shake out your hands, maybe wiggle your toes. Welcome back. And what I want you to do is just take 3 minutes of just automatic writing. What came up? What do you need right now? Try to write for the full 3 minutes. Don't try to stop. Just keep writing about what you need, and we'll come back and see what came up for you. All right. Let's come and circle back. So, some things that I shared when I do that exercise, and I do that exercise, that breathing exercise, quite often, at least once a day. And in that moment when I did the exercise, really what hit on me was just the need to slow down. I needed to refuse this urge to rush and to push through, and just to like take deeper breaths. So just to kind of really slow myself down and using my breath as that like way to anchor myself. Danica says, once I wrap up anything pressing today, I really need to give myself some time off. I need to spend time in nature with my girls, getting out of the house too. I need to shift my mindset to really lean into why I'm busy. And that's because there's so many exciting things going on. What I really need this weekend is to play and relax so I can come back clear and energized on Monday. Now, here's the thing. So often, right, when we hear someone tell us, like, this is what you need to do, right, it feels like, wait a minute, don't tell me what to do. This is not that same type of what you need to do. This is tied to our deep needs, right? It's that little baby crying and you being that midwife and saying, oh, I know what that cry means. I know how to support that. That's what we're talking about. Tara says, with not feeling the best, I need rest. I need time in my lounge clothes at home with nothing scheduled. I need to recharge rather than giving or doing more. This week has proven to be overly busy due to vacation incurring next week, which is also very exciting. But the week before can sometimes be the chaos, before the calm and the fun. And even though there are must-dos today and some tomorrow, I need to prioritize rest and slowing down during the other times, right? This is what it's about, right? Listening to what you need. And it's not listening to what you should do. This isn't your to-do list. This is your what do I need list, because self-care is the intentional practice of tending to your needs, right? And so it's nurturing the need versus a should. So you've thought about the needs, and we're going to end with just a little bit of accountability. So again, if self-care is the intentional practice of taking care of your needs, that means it's proactively doing so, which requires a little bit of planning, requires a little bit of intentionality. So what I want you to think about is over the next 24 hours, I want you to be very specific about something that you're going to do that's going to honor that need. So I want you to actually create space for it. So I don't want you to say like, oh, I'm going to do it, at some point. I want you to actually be very specific to when this is going to happen. So if you have to open up your calendar or look at your work calendar or your phone calendar, go ahead and do that. But I want you to get very specific on when you are going to do that. So for example, what I'm going to do is right after this, I'm going to take an hour and I'm just going to get back on my couch. I'm going to put on some like relaxing music with like maybe some Hertz tones or something. And I'm going to just close my eyes and just lay and maybe drink a little bit of tea, but that's about it. That's what I'm going to do right after this. So take about 3 minutes and let's get very specific so we have some action items of how you're going to intentionally tend to that need and really be at the epitome of self-care. So take about 3 minutes. I'll see you back here in just a bit. We're starting to see some things show up in the chat. Here's the great thing about this. And the reason why I said, be specific, get specific on the time. So that way you have a very, very intentional list here. So you don't have to, you know, worry about it. Because if you fail to plan, then like you plan to fail on this, right? And it's not about winning or losing, but that's a good quote to remember because you have some specificity. So Danica says like she's going to finish her to-dos by noon. So she knows like noon is going to be her time to start to shut it down and wind down. And she has a list of some things she'll do. She's going to spend some time in the garden, starting some more seeds, moving seedlings into the soil and playing, because she definitely said that she wanted to get outside and play, maybe even bake something using the freezer inventory. All that sounds like beautiful self-care. Tara says like during her session, she's going to make some hot tea to tend to herself as she shows up for them. Amazing. So she's showing up for herself as she shows up for others in the same situation. Sitting outside during lunch for at least 10 minutes. And then right after work, getting into those lounge clothes, which she said that she needed, and giving herself some rest on the couch. That sounds like a beautiful Friday afternoon. I'll probably do something very similar. Lisa's going to write out her to-do list. I'll ask my 18-year-old for a breakfast in TJ Maxx date. I love that. And we'll spend 30 minutes dedicated to her side hustle. The more specific you can get, not only will it help you just to kind of take one less decision, off your plate when the time comes, but it gives you something to look forward to. It actually feels really good to tend to your needs. We just have to be more intentional about setting the time to create space for it and to take the moment to attune to it. So continue this process of checking in with yourself, checking in with your needs, getting clear about what you want, and then creating the space to tend and attune to them. That is how we take the best care of ourselves. Thank you all so, so much for today's class, for joining in. I know that the week after daylight savings can be a bit rough, but hopefully for those of you who said, I feel a little bit tired and run down, you got a little bit more spark into your day because you have some things to look forward to and you have some things that are going to fill your cup. So thank you all so much. Have a great, beautiful, wonderful Friday and a wonderful weekend. And check into the community to let us know how you're tending to your needs in the next 24 hours. We'll see you back in some more fun classes again Monday morning, 6:30. Same time, same place with Danica. We'll see you there. Have a great, great, great rest of your day. Bye, everyone.